looking at the lower level, the institute had a more like a center and periphery organization for effective interactive learning. So it's more the spaces of the general body meeting, the canteen. So a lot of spaces like that at the lower levels. And at the mid levels, the concourse level, it was more like a field organization for informal network exchange. And at the top level, it was more like a grid for efficient learning. That is your studios and your classrooms, which is actually the parasol on top. So these are some sectional strategies: academic zoning, the studios are on top, the workshops are below because they're heavier spaces. You have machinery, computers, so those were below, and the leisure spaces were in between, if you can see the between section. Then if you look at the elements of architecture, a roof with a green roof above, pavilion in between, and the plinth below. And if you look at the bottom one, which is flotation on top, and you can look at an urban scape in between and embedded elements. So the elements are very different below again. So this is a diagram which will gives you an idea of the plan and the circulation and program on the right hand side of this building. I won't run through the details, but just conceptually what we're doing. So this is a climate strategy, again, conceptual ideas where you need cross ventilation in a hot, humid climate. So that became very important. So you can very clearly see this building's been split so that you get cross ventilation right through the center of this building. The southern side has been pulled inside, and all the southern walls are all hard. And we create these folding slabs on the top part of the parasol to create north lights for the studios. And the spaces below are more like the embedded spaces like the library, so that there is less heat gain as you move down in the afternoon. So that was the conceptual idea. There are all the other ideas like rainwater harvesting, solar panels, all of that as a strategy is always there. But architecturally what we did, you can even see green roofs coming out onto the entrance of the building. So even when we looked at the staircase, this building has about 13 staircases. And actually we needed a lot of staircases in this building because it's a top heavy building and there are thousands students sitting on the top 2 floors. And if you had to exit them out of this building, we needed about 20 meters of wide of staircases. So we started thinking about how do we do them so that they look interesting. And this is one of these staircase ideas where we looked at a concept of a double helix. It's a DNA structure. You can see that drawing on the left hand side. So it's one staircase that is intertwined into the other staircase. And you can see on the right hand side, that's how it gets manifested. So we were thinking about interesting ideas how to design staircases so that they don't become just plain staircases which don't. So there is a fun element to a staircase. So you can look at this now where you can see the auditorium in the front part, which slowly becomes the entrance. So actually you can walk over the auditorium and you can see this cantilevered part in the front of the building. Now we are actually coming to the center of the building, which is the GBM area and the entrance of the building. Bridges across, this parasol bridges across from one side to the other side, and it comes on the eastern side where we have eastern gardens on the deck on top. So very clearly the building, this is the drawings we made at the competition, more or less built exactly like this. So now I will cut straight to what the building looks like. And that's what the building looks like when it's built. So you can see the western corner, this is northwestern corner. You can see a lot of these columns that have been removed from this area, but the reason is there is a hill on this side. It's called the Gundadala Hill. So that's where the context comes in. So we wanted to acknowledge the context of the hills. Vijayawada has very nice hills all across the city, and we wanted to acknowledge that when you stand at the podium, you wanted to see those hills, frame those hills. That's from the western side again, twilight and evening shot. It also has the games area. So you have these large cantilevers that come across like balconies. You can see them there, which overlook the games area. The games grounds on this side. This is from across the street. I just told you about the auditorium that slowly, gradually goes up into the entrance. And the parasol on top. So that whole area below on the podium that you see here is a student area for GBMs in the center. The faculty rooms are here and here. This is the planning faculty rooms, the faculty rooms for architecture. Admin is down here, auditorium down here, and studios are up here with the classrooms. So simple, but that's the entrance from the eastern side. So you have an eastern entrance and western exit. I just showed you the western side before. That's the GBM area, the general bodies meeting space. So we place the students right in the center, in the heart of the institute, so that everybody can see them and the power of the students is manifested. That's looking back at the city from the double helix staircase. And the idea of a phenomenal sort of section where you can see from the ground to the 5th floor. So the idea is the volumes are broken up so that you never feel that it's stratified. You get a good communication between all levels. That's in between. Right till the 5th floor, you can see the skylights on top on the right hand side here. So this light sort of penetrates right through the building. That's the top floors where. So on the right hand side, you see the idea of at the competition level, we made a view, and that space is built exactly like what we imagined it. Of course, there are no students in this photograph, but they use it exactly like that. These are the studios with the north light, double height volumes. This is something that stayed in us when we were at SEP. We had this overlooking dish that was always a part of our learning. So we wanted to have something like this in the studios. And this is in the evening and how they use it now for their meetings. And these are those spaces that are being used by students. This is another project. This is in Kasoli. It's a housing project for Tata Housing. This is a developer. So they had this idea of various types of houses that they wanted. So there were 18 typologies of housing. And the reason 18 typologies came is one based on the ticket size. That means how much people wanted to buy 3-bed, 2-bed, 1-bed, or a studio apartment to a 5-bed with a swimming pool, etc., etc. So that was one reason. But the other reason was all the conditions of the site. So the typologies kept increasing to 18 only because of the site condition. You didn't have flat land, you had varying land, and that's why the typologies sort of started going, higher and higher. So I'll just go through the sectional strategy in this. It was always about the cut and fill. It was always about the entrance, and the view side. The valley side is generally the view side. You can see here it's a 1-story sort of landfold. Here you'll see a 2-3-story or maybe 4-story landfold. So every condition was different, and that was our first idea. How do you minimize cut and fill on each housing type and address the idea of the views and address the idea of minimum impact on the site? So the roads, the building, and how the building sat on the ground. So that was the first exercise that we did. And once we got that right, our challenge became very easy, because then the design of the building was very, very sort of a reflection of the landscape itself. We got terraces and decks. This is a stilted building because very steep. We had to make stilts in that area. It was not just a cut and fill, whereas the other ones you can see are all cut and fill. Yeah. So sometimes you get the road on the valley side, and sometimes the road is on the. So for example, the man standing down is the road coming in, and sometimes you get the road on the higher side, which is the views hillside. Yeah. So that was the concept, and you can see these are some of the drawings we made for the houses. So automatically you'll start seeing that each of these, because of the site condition, you start getting decks and terraces in the house itself, which is a reflection. In this case, you see stepping decks here, like balconies going out, terraces. Again, stepping deck, 1, 2, and 3 stepping decks here. So this is the character of the site, which starts getting reflected in the house. I won't show all 18 typologies because there's just too many of them. And this is what the concept sort of panned out into. It panned out into something that was, very, very sort of suited to the environment there. We were looking at wood above because that's the trees that grow there, the wood kind of reflection of the trees that grow in that area. This is in Himachal. So, and the stucco in the mid sections of the building and the stone at the lower section of the building, because there's a lot of stone in the land there, but the trees that grow out. So there's a reflection of the stone from the ground as well as the trees that grow. So we use the same wood that you get in that region on the top part of the building. So it's the idea is that you can create this whole hill community, and at points you won't know which house is ending and which house is starting because there are no compound walls. So the whole idea of urbanism, which is contiguous, you will not know which houses started and which houses ended. So that was very important to us because we didn't want this community to get fragmented, that I have a bigger house than yours. And that fragmentation was very important, that we don't have. We convinced the developer that we should not have that identified fragmentation. These are the studio apartments on the left, overlooking the valley. This is the gabion walls that you see in the landscape because huge amount of retention needed. We're using gabions and not retaining walls all the time. Some material textures, how they come together with the landscape now, what grows there naturally. This is the clubhouse. It's a heated pool. It's very cold there. It snows also in these areas, overlooking the valleys. And this is a water body between two of the houses. So that's it. And this is one interior. I mean, the idea on this interior, it was a bar. Somebody came to us and he had very little money. So he said, I don't have much money for this project, but how do we do this? He wanted a digital wall. So we said, let's see what we can do. And we came up with these ideas. Why don't we use all the bottles that they use? That's in Bombay, they drink a lot of beer, I guess you all know. And we use those bottles to create the space. And we said that why don't we use flooring that is wasted at the, at Bharat Tiles. There are a lot of wasted quantities of orders and Douglas. So we said we'll order a little more, but get all their wasted quantities from earlier orders. And we created patterns. So you can see a digital wall here that's created out of beer bottles. This is all out of wasted tile material they had. We had to order a little more of the same. But we saved a lot of money because that order, we got the tiles at 50% of the cost then. So the idea was recycle actually. So if somebody wanted to save money, we said that why don't we just recycle whatever we have, including his beer bottles. That's the digital wall. I mean, it's a beer bottle wall actually. It looks like a digital wall. It's just backlit. And that's it. The next person can take over. We can have questions later.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation, sir.
So I'll just stop sharing now. That's a challenge, right?
Yeah, yes, sir, yes.
That.
Thank you, Shantanu. I will start with my presentation.
Okay.
Is it visible?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Just a second. No?
No, sir. Is a but yes.
Yeah. So I will start with what should be the approach, like feasibility and concept development, or concept development and feasibility. Like whether you will be able to build that project, you need to think that first, and then there will be a concept, or you will have an idea of a project, then you will check whether that is feasible to build or not. Both the approaches are right, but there are some issues with both of them. So we will discuss that later. But my presentation will be in 5 parts. First will be exploration in terms of site. Second, in my presentation, I will not go through the entire projects. It will be based on the elements and interiors and how the approach will be for that particular project. For that particular project, how feasibility you need to address issues related to feasibility. You need to address at site level, at build form level, building element level, interior elements, and partition level. So it will be more of elements based rather than a project based. So first project was it was a competition that we had participated. It was for a hostel building, and that was a site, and they need to build a hostel for boys and girls from standard 5th or 6th onward till graduation. So now within the same plot, you will have you need to build a two hostel. Again, you need to maintain the privacy aspect and all that. So there was an introduction of a third block in between, which will act as a barrier between two blocks. One could be the boys hostel, one could be the girls hostel. We have selected the longest diagonal, and this green space was an open space for both the hostels. So it was visually it would be something like this. For the same project, we have a second approach. Instead of having in here, there are a lot of voids in between, and this is doubly loaded building. Versus here, we have again further explore the diagonal in terms of curve, which will have more of closed or enclosed kind of a space with this building in between. So it will this green area will be more of a private space with reference to this wing, and this will be singly loaded building where you will have a corridor on one side and rooms on another side. So it will have better ventilation. This was a small plot where we need to accommodate 1,000 boys, 1,000 girls, and around 500 to 600 NRIs. So that's why there was no much option left and to go for high-rise building. So these were some of the visuals. So that was a site level. Now how the feasibility part needs to be addressed at form level. This is one of the building that we have recently completed. This is the site location where my cursor is. It is located in between, exactly at the junction at the turning of a road. So if you are traveling either on this road or on this road, this will be this building will be in your eyesight, or it will be at the you will feel like that building is just in front of your road. And this was in industrial area. So as one of the concept, we had tried to explore the sort of a container kind of a thing which were stacked on each other. So this was just initial ideas discussed with the client. Then this is what further developed. The problem with this thing is like these cantilevers are almost impossible to build. Again, even if we have a column, it will have an overlap of 9-inch or 230 mm or maybe 300 mm. What we want is a clean cubes comes out of that surface, versus it will have a overlap of this space, which will not give what we have intended to. That's why we have switched to the steel structure, and instead of having RCC beam, we have used two I section placed side by side like this, and those will act as a structural. So this was a structure, and this is how that building looks like. The reason why I'm showing this building is because this was initially it was something like this. Even if you see this sketch, it looks like it might not be the possible to build with so much cantilever and such long projections, but it was possible because of the use of the material. The second building is like we had built a factory building for NSSPL, and they want a small canteen for their staff people, but they want very quick building to be built and very cost effective. And these buildings they are going to use for 15 to 20 minutes for lunch break only. So what we did is, instead of having a foundation and beams, columns, and walls, why can't we have just a vault of pre-coated sheets, like a Proflex kind of a thing? So it starts like this. At least you can use, except this corners, you can use entire space. And these are the few sketches that we did initially. So these two sides will have services, and in between space will act as a canteen building. So these are some of the photographs. This is from inside the building. This is how it looks like in the actual. This is how this two service blocks has been covered and generates a source of sense of entrance here from both the sides. And this is the building that will have services on both the sides. One will have, on this part will have a kitchen and storeroom, and this area has toilet blocks and wet area services. So again, because of the cost and time frame, this was a solution. Now this is again a building for a car showroom, where this client wanted a very catchy kind of a building where you can easily notice while you are passing through that road. So these were the criteria that we have decided, and these were initial sketches, and this is what client had selected once we have presented, and this is the final building outcome. Now here this glass facade has three kind of variation in the glass. The lower part is more of a transparent, the second part is sort of a translucent, and top part is kind of a opaque thing, because we want the visibility from the ground level. And this is again a structure itself which has been used for cladding of a glass. So there wasn't any extra member or extra things had been added here for cladding of the glass. So this is how it will look. It looks like from inside. These are the few details, and this is how it looks like from outside. This is how we are coming to the building element. This is one of the project that we are doing right now. This has a north in upward direction, and this is a wall in the south. So we want a very thick wall there, and this wall gives a source of continuity in entire house, because this is a drawing room, this is living and dining area, kitchen, there is a puja room here, and these are the bedrooms areas, and there is a garden, private garden at the back side on top of the parking. So at lower ground level there is a parking, and at upper ground level there will be a garden from bedrooms. So because this wall was in the curve, and this wall is facing again a south side, so it will have almost throughout the year it will have a sun on top of that wall. If we make this wall out of concrete or any other material, the workmanship is again an issue. And even if there is a workmanship, there will be a lot of shadow will be casted of the wall itself, or the projection, or if there is any undulation, there will be shadow casting of that same material on that wall. So to avoid that, what we did is, like, instead of having a wall in a smooth or finished surface, we have fragmented that wall into pieces and cladded with stone, which will again give extra insulation, because this is again a south side, and eventually this is how this building will look like, and this is the side peak. And now I'm coming to the interior elements. This is a staircase. I will discuss two kind of interior element. One is staircase, and another one is partition. Now here, this was a double height volume in a bungalow, and we need to access this area. Now, and this, the idea was to design a stair in such a way that it looks like a sculpture instead of having a typical kind of a stair. So this entire staircase is projected out from these walls. There is a wall available on three sides. So this landing and this area become a truss, and this threads are connected to the wall, and it generates a ribbon kind of a thing. This is 8 feet wide, 7 feet, 6 feet, 5 feet, and 4 feet by 4 feet is what the landing will be. Similarly, the same kind of configuration has been mirrored, and this will be the landing for the upper floor. And this was the initial sketch. Now Here, the material that we have used is there is a MS plates. On top of that, there was a cladding of plywood, and top of there is a Korean. So it looks very thick and bulky. These pipes doesn't have any structural value. Those are just for safety purpose. They are not holding the staircase. Uh, Now the second one is, again, we have tried to reduce the amount of material, and here this staircase is made out of just 6 mm thick plate, which has been uh, folded, and this railing itself become a truss to hold that entire stair. So this is again a further this becomes a bracing for bracing as well as the railing for this flight. This is not yet finished, but this is what executed on the site. Now the third one is, instead of using a 6 mm thick plate, why can't we use just a 3 mm thick plate with some sort of folding like what we have here, bend, which will give a stiffness to that sheet. And instead of having a structure on both the sides, there will be just two continuous pipes and configuration of railing, which will act as a truss and hold the entire staircase. So this was how it was conceptualized, and this is 3D renders, but we are planning to remove this wooden tread from top of this stair, and there will be just a 3 mm thick plate which will be visible in the. This is not a final picture. This is just a. This staircase is under construction. Now we'll come to the element which is partition. Like in general, the partitions are made out of plywood and glass, where glass is infill material and plywood or wood is a structural member. So instead of that, what if we use plywood as an infill and glass as a structural member? So of course this plywood has its own strength, but because of this diamond shaped glass in between, like what we have sketched here initially, this shape will is holding entire partition. The small pieces of glass are holding the entire partition, and this grooves continues like what we have here in the details. And within that, there are two doors which we have accommodated, which camouflage with the partition. Looks like a seamless kind of a thing. So it looks like this. Then we'll come to the partition of our office. This is a sketch, initial sketch of the office. This area is this is a service block. This is entrance, a reception and waiting area. Although there is no reception, just a small waiting area. And this is a studio which is facing east and north side. And this was the service block which the developer has already been given. And this is a meeting room. Now in meeting room, what we wanted was, like, instead of having an enclosed space, why can't we have a partition which moves easily, and when you open it, it looks like a seamless kind of a thing, which will not have any crack at the floor level. So this is a configuration that we have worked out, and this is how we can slide the partition. And these are some of the pick of the studios. Like, this is a conference room which has again 8 feet cantilevered conference table with which is like just like 4 mm thick, as you can see here. This is a pic from outside the conference room, and this is how the conference room will be, and this is how we have detailed out the things. And these are a few more pics. That's it from my side. Vasav sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing your ideas on details.
Thank you, Ramesh. Give me one sec. Screenshot ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. कार बंद છે.
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
You can see your screen? Good. So today we are going to talk about the concepts basically, and I'll be presenting a couple of projects of mine. See, I believe that usually, because I also read the questions, Siddharth, you sent us yesterday, that how the concepts are derived. Somebody has asked that also. Concept, where does the concept come from? And most of the students, they always think of this, that kahan se laaye concept? Where do we get a concept? How do we get that? How do we conceive a concept? You know. So there are a couple of ways as far as I believe. One of them is the site offers you a concept, and second is the design brief offers you a concept. Now, the one where the site offers you the concept, that is this veterinary hospital, which is beyond Jamnagar, done for Anant Ambani. And there, because it is close to Jamnagar, and Jamnagar is a port, basically. It has a naval port, it has this commercial port and all. So the concept came that it should be something like a port, something like from port it comes to the ship. Then it can be a ship kind of a thing. Now, how do we get that ship? Do we really copy this ship from here to here, or how do we do it? So this was some massing first we worked upon, and then the massing came, and it kind of set like a ship. And this is the plan of it, from where here the entry is, and here the requirement was such that a small dog should be operated upon, and at the same time even an elephant should be operated upon. So at places the spans were too large a span. So what do we do when the spans are too large? So the skylights have been used quite extensively here, because these are the areas where also the lights go off. The electric power is, you know, quite often it just goes off. So we have to think of a natural ventilation and a natural source of light both. So which was conceived from the roof, that the hot air and the goes from the skylight, and at the same time the fresh air comes in from the windows as we do it. There was a green patch which was left, which works as a divider between the caretaker's house and the hospital. This is how the sections were also worked upon, and where we can see that the light comes in and things like that. And just give me one second. Yeah. Also here the task was how to bring the building down, because this building is going to cater maximum to the people who are from the village and surrounding villages. So if your building is too tall, your building is too big, too massive, then it scares them off that we are going to the too big a place. So the building has to come down to the people. So this was by using the bands and the elements like cantilever chajjas and all. We have tried to bring the scale down. Now here we can see that the residential block, the dormitory block, which was placed on the first floor, with the staircase on the back, and that whole block was placed on the back, so that from the front the building looks very not too tall. It looks small building. It doesn't overpower you. It comes to you. Now these are the photographs from inside where the treated animals come in, and this is the entry. This is where the treated animals are kept. So the natural ventilation is kept at a max. These are the lights, and this is a general waiting area where we expect people to sit in this waiting with their goats and all, goats and dogs and whatever. So there, the foul smell can be ventilated from the top, and the light comes in, and this is all the naturally lit area. So this was one way of conceiving the concept. Now the second project I'm going to be presenting is a crematorium in Chorwad. Now it is for Hindus basically. As per our Hindu mythology, what happens is that the body dies, the soul doesn't die. The soul travels. It travels to the another world basically. Now when we call it another world, we mean that it goes beyond the horizon. So when we look at a horizon, what does horizon look like? It's an arc, basically. What a huge arc it appears as. So here the entry is there, and this is in Chorwad, which is again a coastal region. Beyond this, there is a bay. So this retaining wall was built in a curvilinear form for two reasons. One, to support my concept that yes, it depicts that horizon, and the second one is it also works as a good structural member. It's a very stable member against the water and landfilling. So here, this is what was done, that the curve this happens, then right at the axis of an entry, there is a place where they can do the visarjan of the asthis and the remains of what is not burned. So this was another project. Here again, the skylights and things, elements are used, but at the same time, the building remains at quite a low profile. It comes down to the people. At the entry, I believe that building should come and shake hands with you. And that's what even our history has taught us. The building comes down to you. It greets you, no matter what building it is. So this is how we try to bring the building down. And at the same time, where there are pyres, the roof has been lifted so that the soul can go. And at the same time, the hot. These are the views. Where the pyre is, it has been lifted up. This is right at the axis. These are the other views. This is the first view is from the bay side. This is the brown wall. We have highlighted that one wall where this procedure happens. Thank you. So this was basically the second way where, by which you conceive your concept from the brief. The brief gives you a concept that this can be the, if you study the brief gives you the concept. So one way to achieve a concept is via your brief, and the second way is from the site or from the context. That's how these two variations were tried upon. Thank you. What do you say?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your delightful words.
Thank you.
Now, I think, can we take up the questions, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir. So now we would like to open for questions that our attendees have duly signed in through the Google Forms, and after that, we'd like to open for live questions also.
Okay.
So, okay. First question is from Asima Grish, which is directed to Vasav, sir. Concept should be reflected in planning, elevation, form, or in site.
I believe concept is heart, and you cannot have it expressed only in one portion of the. It's like आप गोरे हो या आप काले हो नहीं. My hand is dark and my face is little fair. No, it doesn't happen that way. It reflects everywhere, not only in plan, inside, or in site positioning. It reflects everywhere. It reflects everywhere. It must reflect everywhere. Because we are talking about the whole body. The concept of a building, yeah, it is a building, but then it becomes like it has to be treated as a body. We cannot think like commercial developers think that no, this north side falls over the road, main road, so we spend a lot of money on the elevation of the front side. Yet back side, it's fine. You shouldn't think like that. It reflects everywhere, basically.
Yes, sir. Okay, Shima, you got your answer.
I hope so.
So next question is from architect Khush Parekh, which is directed to Shantanu, sir. Feasibility and concept in today's time is majorly based on economics, speed of project to be implemented, programmatic requirements, and again majorly on earnings of developers. So amidst all this, we have forgotten our environment. So talking along all the above points, how can we also consider environmental perspective for this?
Yeah. Okay. So can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Push, I think you asked a lot of things, but try to answer them one by one. Economics has been a part of all generations. I mean, it's important to understand economics, but I'll tell you, our generation, maybe yours is more privileged than our parents' generation. After liberalization, we have seen our economy grow, and we all understand that today we have much better budgets. So I think we shouldn't complain about the budgets we have. We as a nation today are building a better budgets. Innovation, we can see all of it. Yes, the next answer about speed. Yes, that is a concern. Our projects are being pushed to accelerate and hit targets which were unprecedented. But technology is on our side. We have software now. We have all sorts of techniques of managing projects that are on our side. We know how to sort of organize ourselves. So that's something that we have to learn how to address speed, multitask and do these things. That I do agree has changed a lot from our predecessors or our parents. Coming to profits, developers are still a very, very new phenomenon. I would say they've been around, but they're always looking towards achieving profits because that's their survival. But not all projects are sort of generated out of developers. Right? There is the city, the state, the center. There are projects, people who are in not-for-profit. Maybe some of Vasav's work that I saw maybe is as a charity work. It's not generated out of profits only. A cremation ground, a school, a college, a hospital that Ramesh said. So sometimes there are projects that are not only for profit. So yes, there will be some. I mean, I showed you a developer project. Obviously, that was meant for a profit. Developers don't do housing projects not for profit. So there you become a negotiator. It's very important that you try and educate, maybe negotiate with the developer to say that, well, we should have a profit. What is that profit? Let's understand it. One is the profit that you can see, which is visible to you. The other is the hidden profit. That means if I, as a developer, give you quality products, I'm sure it's not the numbers on that balance sheet, but effectively your company will always, you'll have a happy customer and they'll come back to you. So I think these are the ways you negotiate with, for example, I just showed you a project about in Kasoli, the wood on top, when it went to procurement, they said that wood looking tile, okay, they said it is so much cheaper. I said this, not one villa will sell. I just said it, not one villa will sell. And immediately the CEO said, nothing doing, give him his book. So, you need to put your foot down sometimes, you need to negotiate sometimes. So you may have sold it to the boardroom, but then there will be one procurement, so the cost come karne ke liye, we can have good looking at exactly the same it will look in India. And he will try to convince the rest of the teams that yes, it will look exactly the same. But somewhere as an architect, you know the difference between wood and wood looking tiles, right? So you need to negotiate this all the time to see that you get what you, as a vision, had signed off with the client. Sometimes the client is not only one person; it's so many people in there. So I think there is a negotiative role, and I think you also asked about environment. Now that's a very large topic. I will just put it very simply. We need a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach. That means bottom-up, we all know what we do at home, what we do as architects, and of course the top-down is very much the government has to be sort of. I mean, all our government projects we have Griha ratings, right? So the project I showed you, one project I showed you just now has a Griha rating. So government is taking initiatives. We should take initiatives. Our education schooling system needs to teach us this as these are the etiquettes of how we build now. It's a responsibility. So I think at large, it's everybody's responsibility. It's not one person's or the other. So I'm always called multi-dimensional approach. I think that I'll leave it at that. I hope I've answered your questions, Kush.
So you can just unmute yourself if you are here.
Yeah.
Next question we have. Next question is from Snehal Kotadia, which is directed to Ramesh sir. How to think about concept and what is your unique concept which is great from all your concept?
Good question. Like how to think about question, like for any project or any building that you are doing, if you ask a right question, you will get a right answer. That means every project is an opportunity. Every project is because of some problem. If you identify that problem or that issue, you will be easily give a solution for that project. You need to identify the things. You need to question properly, and that answer of that question will be the concept. I think things are like Charles Courier sir had said once that if you ask correct question for the project, you will get a correct answer for the design. Like just imagine a man who is of just 28 years old and not educated from India and designing a building for Mahatma Gandhi and doing a building which looks like a more of a vernacular kind of a thing. It is just because of he has understanding of what that site demands. He has asked the right question, and that's why that solution is there. So there's nothing about good concept or bad concept. You need to identify the issue for that project, and you will automatically get the solution for that. If you ask yourself a correct question, you will get correct answer. I hope that answer the things.
You can unmute yourself, Snehal, if you are here. So next question is from Jashoda Bansali, which is directed to Vasav sir. While doing a project, bug or small, what is the stage when a concept gets final, and are there any ways in terms of structure to preserve green environment along with small spaces development in metro cities?
See, concept is one thing I don't think gets changed too much. Once the design is frozen, I don't know. I guess at a design stage it gets final, or maybe before design the concept is there in place, because then only we can work upon that. This is the concept I want to work upon. It's concept is something like a base or the foundation of a design process. That's how I would put it. Then if you keep on changing the foundation, the whole building keeps changing, or for anything, the whole process keeps on changing. So it would be better that we freeze the concept and then we work upon it. Yeah, it needs a refinement, and that refinement, I'm sure you know by now, that it comes only through hard work and repetitive work. As a student, many times, because all of us, we go and teach also, so we see that ek bar ho gaya, we find it final. No, you scrap it, you do it again, you refine it. There is a difference between scrapping the whole thing and refining it. I think what needs to be done upon is a refinement instead of redoing it or scrapping it. That's how I would address to the question one. Now, what was the question two, Sid? What lamba likhte hain? Are there any ways in terms of structure to preserve green environment along small spaces development in the? Yeah, of course. It should be. There are many ways. I've recently at somebody's house, somebody got trees, about 100+ years old trees from Hyderabad. Somebody got it transported to Ahmedabad, and now those trees have been planted at the second level terrace. But yes, of course, those structural conditioning was done at a foundation level of the design. So yes, it can be done in many ways. You can have a garden in the terrace. You can have vertical gardens now are there. There are so many different ways to address to it. Have small spaces, but yes, to make it more green. Yes, there are ways. But I think structurally it should be addressed beforehand. Then yes, it is highly possible to do it. Do I answer your question, Jez? I know.
Next question.
I've answered. I hope I've answered. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So next question is from architect Mohika Acharya. So this question is with respect to the projects taken up by new practices. So what is the and this question is directed to Shantanu sir. So there are three questions in together. So what is the current trend in professional practice? A focus on feasible projects or a focus on imaginative, ambitious project that can be realized? And either in case, why do you feel it has become the predominant trend? What factors do you think affect the same? And also the last one, given this scenario, what is the scope and the path ahead for an upcoming practice?
Okay, so this is also, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think this idea of feasibility, when a project comes to anyone, the idea is feasibility is one part, but when a brief comes to you, you can take a very challenging brief, or let's say a brief which has a great vision, and converted it into something that is very mundane, as a designer. But at the same time, you can take a very mundane brief that a client gives you and you can do something very innovative about it. So this is the attitude, how a brief comes to you and what you do with it. So I don't think projects are coming with the idea that we want to create a mundane project. Every project wants to achieve something. Yeah. So I think the architect is very, very important in actually working with the client to work and see how that brief can itself, be a visionary project, can head towards something that you can create something interesting. So, you cannot say that we got a very, very dull brief, so we created a dull brief. No, I don't think architects can take that position. So first thing is we have to be very involved with our clients to say that, okay, this is what you want. How can we make it interesting? At the level of the program, at the level of this site, at every level you can intervene and say, if sometimes clients come to us and says that we want to, take your advice we want to have for our project. So you have that kind of consultancy also where we look at feasibility as well as looking at how that project will get affected just based on the kind of site options you have. So I think everybody's trying to make a project interesting. Nobody's trying to, even from the client, if they're spending so much money, they want something interesting coming out, something that is an innovation, something that is worth presenting to their clientele. What is the next question? I thought imagination and feasibility. What else was the question?
Sir, a second one. In either case, what do you feel it has become the predominant trend, or what factors do you think affect the same?
Well, predominant trend is we do see our built environment being petered down to addressing the needs of a client. That I do agree with, but I don't think that the architect is exercising his power in making or educating his client. That's where the gap is. If an architect educates his client, becomes a kind of a partner, let's call it collaborator, not partner, partner is a bad word, collaborator in that process where you can influence the client to realize what is his options of how he can develop a project, I think the built environment will change drastically. So I think we need to take that position. We are in a very, very powerful position when a client comes to you. He's trusting you with his money. He's trusting you with his decisions. So I think you're in a very good position to influence him and educate him in the right direction. And I'm saying it's a both way thing. We learn a lot from the clients also. It's not that only we are educators. We are not higher than the client. We also learn from the clients with every project. So that is something that we need to take responsibility and work towards, so that the built environment will become better and better. And anything else I missed in this long question?
The third one, sir. Given this scenario, what is the scope and path ahead for an upcoming practice?
Well, I think partly I've answered it. As we go ahead, we want our built environment to be influenced by the way we think. Right? What we taught in schools and what we sort of, when we come out, what we build, sometimes there's this gap. We want to sort of catch up with that, or what we call pedagogy and practice. This gap has to be bridged by coming up with best practices that we've learned about, or the newer best practices that are coming up, and how our built environment can be influenced by these best practices. So this gap has to be narrowed down so that we see better environment. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
That's. I think we can move on to other questions. So next question is from Shivam Kumaria, which is directed to Ramesh sir. How do you define details and how important are they? And how do details characterize an architect?
Okay. Like if you design something, I will explain it through one of my project. I will share my screen. like for this project, this were the sketches, initial diagrams, and here, as you can see, like this is one option where you have two plywood placed like this and glass projects out, versus this is a detail where you have plywood like this and glass in between and a beading which holds this two plywood together with help of a glass. Like within that detail, even if you see here in this picture, there is a groove which is continuous in that surface. Like instead of this, if we have used this kind of detail, this partition would not have looked what it is looking like right now. So yes, details are very much important for any project, anything, whether you address that detail or not, but there will be details. Now it's up to you whether you want to take that thing as an opportunity to design out things. See, at large level or at a building level, you have nice ideas, but those things will be perceived from certain angle. But what you can touch and feel is all about details. If you are using a table and if your that edge is hurt, that means there is something wrong with, even if the table is very beautiful, very nicely done with good workmanship, very rich materials, but if you are not able to utilize those things, that is just because of detail, then there is a problem in your design. So details are very much important for any design, and how it characterize a designer or a person. Uh, like you must have seen in history, great architects. The details is the thing where you get opportunity to explore things. So that is the key for a project. I think I answered your question, Shivam.
Shivam, you can just unmute yourself if you are here.
Yeah, I got the answer. I got the answer. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Um, Now, anybody from audience would like to ask question, the panelist, you can unmute yourself. Anybody would like to ask question, or we can ask. I think, sir, we have few more questions left, so we can just cover up and just wind up this session.
Okay.
So, so at last, we have question from Milani Gajar, from which is directed to Vasav sir, and one to Ramesh sir, and third one is for Shantanu sir, for the last one. So I will ask first question, which is directed to Vasav sir. How can the architect enhance the feeling of the space-time relationship in architectural design?
He cannot have chatting. It's like, I suppose what she wants to know is she wants to talk about the timeless architecture. I seriously didn't understand.
Milani, you can just unmute yourself if you are here.
Hello, sir.
Right.
So basically, I wanted to ask if we look at examples like Guggenheim Museum and such, so they are perfectly designed forms which function on the perspective of time as well. So how do we enhance such relationships via concepts, or how does feasibility then play a role in it?
Like, even if I talk about just Gagana Museum, there also uh, because of the function, the form is there. The type of function, the form is being taken because I guess Gagana Museum, what they wanted was uninterrupted wall surface. So it's just a continuous, and circle is the most continuous surface. So that's how the Gagana Museum concept was derived. Now, to come up with a timeless kind of a music, I think your concept should be strong and language. I would say that your language throughout the project also should be very strong. That's what, and material selection and all those things. As basically, if your concept is good, you refine it properly to a proper design. Then yes, of course, it reflects the surrounding, it reflects the site. What we just saw in Shantanu's Kasoti housing. It was taken as a hills. The concept was very simple. As such, if you look at it from a student's viewpoint, उसमें है क्या? एक slant line ही है ना, honestly speaking. But way he refined that slant line, that's what would, I guess, so the refinement should be there. And when we were students, somebody used to always tell us that you draw a plan, then you erase the lines. You erase it up to an extent that you cannot erase anything more. If we look at any of these Mastro's plans, I'm sure at whatever scale, you cannot erase 1 centimeter of the wall. If we erase 1 centimeter of that line, the design would crash. That's known as a mature design. When design has such maturity, I guess this timelessness will come. Timelessness will come. I'm sure about that. I guess, have I answered?
Yes,
Milan?
sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Second question is directed to Ramesh sir from Miloni Gajaroli. How can architects and urban designers change spaces into places?
Ramesh, one mute.
Miloni, for that you need to define space and place. What is your understanding about space and what is your understanding about place? Can you just give an example? Miloni?
Sir, when we talk about places, we
Just
say that
give one example of the place that you consider that is as a place, and one example that you consider that as a space.
okay. So sir, if we consider a place like waterfall, then it has so many things in its surrounding as well, which makes it a place. And if we talk about space, I understand that it is it may be covered, semi-covered or whatsoever, but it's the things inside it that makes it a space.
So you have given the example of waterfall, right?
Yes.
For place. Now, what is the difference between place or any semi-covered or open kind of a space versus a waterfall? The key aspect is experience. And as a designer, you need to address that thing. That what kind of experience you want for your user. And if you address that thing, I think you can easily convert any space to place. That is what I think.
Okay.
The last and the final question, session ending question, which is directed to Shantanu sir. In order to study architecture city relationship, what are the important topics you nominate?
Okay, so this is more from I think we as we do exercises in studios. One of my favorite exercises is psychogeographic mapping, and what this simply means, it's a big word, is walking the city and trying to build relationship by engaging with the city. So it's literally like you pick parts of the city that you want to understand, venture out into the city, build relationships with the city, have a cup of tea, you build relationship with the corner tea stall, you go and spend time at a newspaper stall, you build relationships. So you start engaging with the city, and you come back and you build a map. Now this map may have nothing to do with the map that you know or you get from Google, but this is your own map. So this becomes a construct of the city that you have perceived, which is your construct of the city. So this is more important for a designer than the map you get from Google. That's a definitive map. That's something that you would need if you have to engage with building plans, etc., on roads and definitive parts of the city. But this map of you experiencing and you creating cognitive maps will help you understand through an experience of engagement. I think those diagrams, and there's a lot of people who've done this kind of work, and it's always different. There is no definitive answer. There is no definitive illustration. The illustrations change because this is the impact of the city on you is your understanding, and it's always very, I wouldn't say personal, but it is unique, and it is very. You can use that to refine your knowledge of the city. I hope there are many more exercises. I'm sorry, I'm not going through them, but you can build many such exercises to understand the city. It's not one or the other. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
There is another exercise, if I can tell you, it's about understanding the city through actors and agencies. That means there are people you engage with, but those people are actually governed by other agencies. Like if you went to a bookstore, let's say, but that bookstore, the person running the bookstore is not the person who takes all the decisions on how the bookstore works, because there is some other owner or some other, it's a chain of bookstores, let's say. So the impact of a person is one thing, but there is other impacts. So there are institutional impacts. So actors and agencies, how you start understanding relationships of the human being in the city, and its influences on the city. Sometimes there are influences of political parties. Sometimes there are influences of ALMs. That means what we call societies that form, peoples that form locality management circles that influence the street. So these influences also you can understand by engaging with people. That means actors and the agencies that govern them. So there are several such exercises that you can do to start understanding the city, because that's not visible to you. It's something that you have to unfold, and it's literally like being I would say a researcher or something like to understand these complex constructs of the city, and make your own diagrams and maps and yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm sure Milon, you have got your answer.
Yes, thank you.
So, thank you, sir. With this, I would like to extend my thanks to everyone present here, and especially our speakers. Your talk was particularly appropriate at this time when we are considering new initiatives for expanding growth. We know how busy you are, so we are very grateful that you would take the time to prepare and spend an evening with us. Thank you, everyone. We hope you will be able to join us again. Await another drop of a message for the same. Stay tuned. This is your host, Siddharth. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you,
Vasav,
Siddharth.
thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Ramesh. Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
good.